Hey friends, welcome back. Today I'm going to be talking to you about the productivity trap, which is a term that I've coined about how you really like chasing your tail in terms of productivity. So this comes from personal experience. For many years, I'd been working on becoming more and more productive at work. It became part of my official Connect, which is a system at Microsoft where you work with your manager to improve and improve as years go on and determine what you're going to be working on. One of the biggest pieces of feedback that I had been working through for myself is how to be more and more productive. Pretty interesting the way it all kind of worked out, because I would take this feedback about being more productive and then I would like study and I would implement all these new methods. I would really focus on how do I become more productive. I would read books and I would try to, do all these new things at work. What I found was I actually was getting more and more productive, but then I would add more work. Right? So if imagine I had 100% plate full, I would be more productive. So the plate would look like it's 90% full. And then I would always add that extra 10%. And then I'd look at my plate again and I'd say, how do I get more productive so that I can do all this stuff that I want to do? And I would get more productive. And then I would have another 10% to add. And you can start to see what kind of trap you would fall into by doing this. And after really a few years, I kind of picked my head up and said, hey, I think I'm productive enough. I'm actually super productive. I get a ton of work done. I think I can stop worrying about being more and more productive, which is kind of an interesting thing to realize, where you're like, hey, I've hit my limit here, or I've hit my ceiling, or hey, this is enough. And so I want to talk today about, when are you productive enough? When are your habits good enough? How do you know you're at that limit? So I've got 5 things I'm going to talk to you about today, and this will help you understand where you're at. All right, so at your job, you of course have a list of deliverables. First way you know you're in a good spot is if you can do all your main deliverables, right? You're kicking ass at your day job. Your manager says, hey, I need you to do XYZ this week, and you get XYZ done. And it doesn't matter if you get it, at the 40th hour, you get that done, or at the 35th hour, you feel like you can, get all the work done that you need to do in your week. If you're able to do that, you're in good shape. And sure, there might be room to improve or whatnot, but this is not a cause for alarm of like, hey, I need to get more productive, or hey, something needs to fall off my plate. That's a good indicator that your productivity level is meeting your workload level. The next way of knowing you're in a good spot is if you feel like you can take on more work. Let's say you've got a plate full of work. You're able to do it in like 35 hours out of the week, give or take. Of course, there's always new projects that come up and, things that change at work. But generally speaking, you feel like you've got a couple hours of extra time to where you can go to your manager and say, hey, I've got a couple more cycles. I feel like I can take on more work. That's when you know you're in a good spot, and you don't need to just keep chasing this like productivity system or productivity improvement. The next one is really important, and it's, do you have your personal stuff in order? Go to the gym and exercise. You have time to cook yourself a good meal. Your relationships are in good order. You have time to spend time with your loved ones, or call the family back home, or whatever it might be. If you're finding that with your workload, you just can't get it done in time, you need to take overtime to do it, and thus it's kind of spilling into your relationships or your personal life, the things outside of work, you might not be productive enough, or you might have too much work. I would say the first one is usually the one that I try to address first, where I think to myself, because for me, I want to do all this work. So I think to myself, how can I be more efficient? How can I do a better job at this? And if I already feel like I'm super productive, I've got my journaling methods, I know how to take good notes, I get in the morning, I block out my calendar, so I have my focus time. If I feel like I've got a really super productive system, but I still just don't have enough time for all of that extra work, then I know, hey, this is a bit too much for me to take on. But I always start with, where can I be more efficient here? Can I get rid of some meetings? Do I need to go to all these meetings? Can someone on the team do this? We have this meeting on a bi-weekly basis. Can it be monthly, right? Where do you get back that little bit of time so that you can get your work done and still take care of your personal relationships? So if you're able to take care of everything on the personal side, you have enough time to go to the gym, you have enough time to, again, spend time with your loved ones, that's a good indicator that you're at a good productivity level. Next one is totally optional, but it feels like more and more people are getting into side hustles. Do you feel like you have time to dive into these side hustles, right? So you get your work done, you spend your personal time with your family and whatnot. Do you even have more time, let's say on the weekends or late nights, to jump into a side hustle and start chipping away at things like that? I think that's a really good indicator that you're being super productive at work, and you don't need to necessarily, again, chase the tail of trying to get more and more efficient and productive there. The last one I'll say is about being intentional. Do you feel like you have the time to be intentional with how you want to allocate your time in a day, in a week, in a month to the things that you need to do? I know for me, when I have too much work on my plate, and the hours that I have to put in to get it done, either because I'm productive or I'm not productive. These days I am productive, so it's usually there's just so much work. It's really hard for me to be intentional about all the other things that I need and want to do. Oh, I've got to go to the gym, or hey, I'm starting running again, or hey, I've got to call a loved one, whatever it might be. A lot of times when there's just too much going on at work, those other things, I struggle to be intentional with them. If I'm able to really be intentional of like, hey, these are the days I hit the gym and this is what I'm doing at the gym, or these are the days I run and this is what I'm doing on my run, or these are the days, whatever, I work on this project. That's when I know I've got a good grasp on things. I've got enough work on my plate. I'm able to get through all of that work on a weekly and monthly basis. Again, I can be intentional about all the other things that I want to do in my life. So that's going to do it for today's video. Again, don't chase the tail. It can be, just like me, you can fall into a trap of trying to be more and more productive, and it can kind of drive you insane. I took that productivity note off of my Connect. I feel like I'm super productive and I get a ton of work done. Now I can focus on the work itself or improving myself in other ways. So that's gonna do it for today's video. I'll catch you guys in the next one.